Mahyanatimanasya Nanslansnakya Sakshunmalitam Yena Tasmai Shigurave Namah Namam Vishnupadaya
Recording in progress.
Shrimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamine Namaste Saraswata Devi Gauravani Pacharine Nirvishesha Srinyavadi Paskachai Dasatarane Srila Prabhupada Ki. So, today we will discuss Canto 2, Chapter 10, verses 34 till 37 till 42. So I will first read the Sanskrit of the verses, the 4 verses, 34, 37, 40. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Prajapatim Manum Devam Rishim Pitra Ganam Pitak Siddha Charanagandharvam Vityarasuragoyakam Kinarapsarasonaran Sarpam Kim Purusham Naram Matriraksha Pishachamsa Preta Bhuta Vinayakam Kusmandon Mada Vitalan Yatudanan Shahanapi Karamrinam Pashun Vrikshan Shrenim Nipa Sarisripam Trividas Saturvidai Jinye Yalastala Nabakasa Kusala Kusala Mishra Karmanam Katayastvimam. Translation. O King, know for me that all living entities are created by the Supreme Lord according to their past deeds. The living entities include Brahma and his sons like Daksha, the periodical heads like Vaishvasvatamanu, the demigods like Indra, Chandra and Varuna, the great sages like Brihu, Vyas and Vasishta, the inhabitants of Pitraloka and Siddhaloka, the Charanas, Gandharvas, Vidyadharas, Asuras, Yakshas, Kinnaras and angels, the serpents, the monkey-shaped Kimpurushas, the human beings, the inhabitants of Matraloka, the demons, Pisachas, ghosts, spirits, lunatics and evil spirits, the good and evil stars, the goblins, the animals in the forest, the birds, the household animals, the reptiles, the mountains, the moving and standing living entities, the living entities born from embryos, from eggs, from perspiration, and from seeds and all others, whether they be in the water or on land or in the sky, in happiness, in distress, or in mixed happiness and distress. All of them, according to their past deeds, are created by the Supreme Lord. Now the purport, if someone can read from the beginning of the purport till the end of the second paragraph, according to their past deeds, their ending. So please read.
I can read.
Please, Shamananapur.
The varieties of living entities are mentioned in this list, and with no exception, from the topmost planet down to the lowest planet of the universe, all of them in different species of life are created by the Almighty Father Vishnu. Therefore, no one is independent of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In the Bhagavad Gita 14.4, the Lord therefore claims all living entities as his offspring in the following verse. Sarva yonishu kaunteya murtaya sambhavantiya tasam brahma mahad yonir aham bija pradapita. The material nature is compared to the mother. Although every living being is seen to come out of the mother's body, it is still a fact that the mother is not the ultimate cause of such a birth. The father is the ultimate cause of birth. Without the father's seed, no mother can give birth to a child. Therefore, the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the innumerable universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead. And only to the man with a poor fund of knowledge they appear to be born of the material nature. Being under the material energy of the Supreme Lord, all living entities, beginning from Brahma down to the insignificant ant, are manifested in different bodies according to their past deeds.
Yeah, if someone else can read the next two paragraphs till the end, the material nature.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj, can I read?
Yes, Purnapakya, grace of God.
Yeah, thank you, Maharaj. The material nature is one of the energies of the Lord, stated in Bhagavad Gita 7.4. The material nature is inferior in comparison to the living entities, the superior nature. The superior nature and the inferior nature of the Lord combine to manifest all universal affairs. Some of the living entities are relatively happy in better conditions of life, whereas others are in distressing conditions of life. But practically, none of them are actually happy in material conditional life. No one can be happy in prison life, although one may be a first-class prisoner and another a third-class prisoner. The intelligent person should not try to be promoted from third class prison life to first class prison life, but should try to be released from the prison altogether. One may be promoted to the first class prisoner, but the same first class prisoner may again be degraded to the third class prisoner in the next term. One should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. That is the real goal for all types of living entities. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So, the message is all are created by the Supreme Lord. All the living entities in all species of life are created by the Almighty Father, Vishnu. So the living beings in different varieties of forms and positions within the universes are all born of the seeds of the Almighty Father, the personality of Godhead, and only the man with a poor fund of knowledge, they appear to be born of material nature. So that brings us again to the same point we had before, how every living entity is depending on him, on the Supreme Lord, on the Asraya. Asraya Tattva is the absolute truth, and everything comes from him. That's the message. So all living entities, beginning from Brahma, down to the insignificant ant, are manifested in different bodies according to their past deeds. So we can see history, look at your own body, and that's the result of your history. That all the circumstances we encounter in our life are created by ourselves, they are reactions to our past deeds. And that's what is going to happen in our lives, and nothing else. You cannot change that. That is our prarabdha karma. We have to undergo that. Someone said to me, yes, the scriptures say by becoming Krishna conscious, we can change our karma. But I'm an astrologer, and I can see that the karma does not change of devotees. No, the prarabdha karma will not change. Aparabdha karma will change. The prarabdha karma also changes to a certain extent. We find that in the first Atene Kampam Samikshana Bunjatma Ivatma Kitam Vibhagam Ritvarfa Purubir Vidadan Namastage Vetio Muktipates Daibak. That the devotee prays, yes, that when I'm suffering, And I know that suffering comes from my past misdeeds. But you, my Lord, are so merciful that you give me only a token. So you don't get all your karma, prarabdha karma, but you get your karma also. But the aparabdha karma, if we go to anartha nivritti, is all destroyed. That is explained in Nectar of Devotion. Because if all our karma would be eradicated in our heart, then we would disappear. Because this body is karma. That is a manifestation of karma. We would disappear. There would be no body anymore. But no. But Srila Prabhupada said it's like, you have a ventilator and you unplug it and it continues to go for some time until we leave this body, and then it's finished. The superior and inferior nature of the Lord combine to manifest all in the universal affairs. That we heard in the 13th chapter. Bhagavad Gita, everything in this world is a combination of inferior and superior energy. And without the soul, without the superior energy, no, matter cannot move, cannot develop, and so on. It's not possible. And the next point Srila Prabhupada makes is, none of them are actually happy in material conditional life. No one can be happy in prison life, although one may be a first-class prisoner and another a third-class prisoner. Everyone in the material world is forced to suffer. So one should try to be free from prison life and go back home, back to Godhead. So that's the message, and that is the point where Srimad Bhagavatam wants to bring us to that point of going back to Godhead. But it's not, we should, some prisoners, they don't want to go out of prison. But because they think when I go out of the prison, I have to work, I have to do so many things. So even if they are freed from prison, they commit immediately a crime so that they are back in prison. Because they think that they become accustomed to it. Srila Prabhupada said that in a lecture, very interesting. But no, we must want to go out of the prison, not become a first-class prisoner. So now, text 41 is quite a small section today, that the division of the verses in the sections seems sometimes not very accurate. But what can we do? We follow the verses and the sections that we have received. Text 41. Sattvam rajas tamam iti tishrasura nrinaraka tatra pekai kaso rajan vidyante katayastrida yadaika kataronyapyam svabhava upahanyate. According to the different modes of material nature, the modes of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of darkness, there are different living creatures who are known as demigods, human beings, and hellish living entities. O king, if a particular mode of nature, being mixed with the other, is divided into three, and thus each kind of living entity is influenced by the other modes and acquires its habits also. So that's interesting. Someone can read the purport, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. Can I read?
Yes, Prabhu, you can read again. Fine.
The living entities individually are being conducted by a particular mode of nature, but at the same time, there is every chance of their being influenced by the other two. Generally, all conditioned souls in the material engagement are influenced by the mode of passion because every one of them is trying to lord it over the material nature to fulfill his individual desires. But in spite of the individual mode of passion, there is always a chance of being influenced by the other modes of nature by association. If one is in good association, he can develop the mode of goodness, and if in the bad association, then he may develop the mode of darkness or ignorance. Nothing is stereotyped. One can change his habits by good or bad association, and one has to become intelligent enough to discriminate between good and bad. The best association is the service of the devotees of the Lord, and by that association, one can become the highest qualified man by the grace of the Lord's pure devotees. As we have already seen in the life of Srila Narada Muni, he became the topmost devotee of the Lord simply by the association of pure devotees of the Lord. By birth, he was the son of a maidservant and had no knowledge of his father and no academic education, even of the lowest status. But simply by associating with devotees and by eating the remnants of their foodstuff, he gradually developed the transcendental qualities of the devotees. By such association, his taste for chanting and hearing the transcendental glories of the Lord became prominent, and because the glories of the Lord are non-different from the Lord, he got direct association with the Lord by means of sound representation. Similarly, there is the life of Ajamala, 6th canto, who was the son of a Brahmana and was educated and trained properly in the discharge of the duties of a Brahmana, but who, in spite of all this, because he contracted the bad association of a prostitute, was put into the path of the lowest quality of Chandala, or the last position for a human being. Therefore, the Bhagavatam always recommends the association of the Mahat or great soul for opening the gates of salvation. To associate with persons engaged in lording it over the material world means to enter into the darkest region of the hell. One should try to raise himself by the association of the great soul. That is the way of the perfection of life. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. So, all the living entities in the material world, they are influenced by the mode of passion. That because everyone is trying to lord over material nature. That they are after fulfilling their material desires. But so if we are in good association, then we can develop the mode of goodness. In bad association, we develop the mode of darkness and ignorance. And in the purport, Srila Prabhupada gives two examples from the scriptures. The experience of Narada Muni associating with the Bhaktivedantas. And we have Ajamel, who got a bad association of a prostitute. So it's the purpose of our movement to provide association. So we can only change our habits by good. We change our habits by good or bad association. That's how it works. This subject matter will come up again in the 11th canto, in the Uddhav Gita, where there is a list of all different ways how to change one's association. So one has to become intelligent enough to discriminate between what's good and bad association. So the best association is the association of devotees who are engaged in the service of the Lord. So Narada Muni in his previous life It took him 4 months and he was on a liberated platform just by association with these Bhaktivedantas. And Ajamil, he got a training, a very good training as a Brahmin. But somewhere or another he became attracted to this prostitute and he forgot about everything of his education. So what's the message here? The message is we should try to by association, to raise ourselves, our consciousness by association of great souls. So that's the way of the perfection of life. If you associate with someone who is amazing, if you associate with someone who is sick, who has a cold and is sneezing, it will be just a question of time before you become sick. And I think more people in this corona crisis become aware of that, how by association you get contaminated with viruses and so on. So that we should also be conscious with whom are we dealing. And what does association mean? Association means you do the same things as they do. That we should not do. We may have to do business with so many people who are in the mode of passion and ignorance, but we don't share their habits. That's important. Then we become degraded. And we don't hear from them about their lusty desires and so on. It will influence you. That's one. Desires can come to us in various ways. Desire to serve Krishna can come from the soul. That's good. But mostly desires develop in our mind. Dayate visya punsam sanghiste subachayate sangha sangyate kama kama krodha vijayate. You meditate on something and you want to enjoy it and lust develops and so on. And you develop a desire to enjoy that object or that person or whatever. That's the process of fall down. It starts with meditation on things to enjoy and then these material desires develop. And we have these material desires going on, but what is characteristic of a material desire? Krishna says, Dusprana lenacha. You can never satisfied that, and your expectations will finally be frustrated. So it's never fulfilled. So if you are attached to these material desires and you die, then next life the separate soul will remind them, put them in your consciousness. Not all at a time. That's also a way where material desires come from. But here is another way that material desires develop, and it's by associating with sinful people in the mode of ignorance and passion. That is in principle sinful. Sinful means not recognizing that Krishna is the enjoyer and not recognizing that Krishna is a proprietor. So that's the mode of passion and ignorance. So Ajamil, although he was trained very nice as a Brahmin, in association of the prostitute, he lost all his good qualities for the time being. So this is a very good lesson for us. Look in our own life, with whom are we associating? How can we improve our association, get regular higher association, and so on. Now the last verse of today, 42. Sa evidam jagattata Bhagavan Dharmarupadrik Pushnati Stapayam Vishvam Tiryanara Suradipi. He, the personality of Godhead as the maintainer of all in the universe, appears in different incarnations after establishing creation, and thus he reclaims all kinds of conditioned souls among the humans, the non-humans, and the demigods. So all kinds of conditioned souls, he comes to reclaim them. It says, among the conditioned souls, the humans, the non-humans, and the demigods. Let's hear what Srila Prabhupada says about this in the purport. So, can someone read the first part of the purport just after reciting the Sanskrit of 911? Hare Krishna.
As we have already.
Please.
So I should start reading from after the shloka?
No. From the beginning till after the Sanskrit recitation of the shloka.
Okay, ma'am.
Yeah.
The Supreme Personality of Godhead Vishnu incarnates himself in different societies of living entities to reclaim them from the clutches of illusion. And such activities of the Lord are not limited only to human society. He incarnates himself even as a fish, hog, tree, and many other forms, but less intelligent persons who have no knowledge of him derive him even if he is in human society as a human being. The Lord therefore says in the Bhagavad Gita 9.11, Avjananti Mamura Manusham Tanu Ashritam Param Bhavam Ajananto Mam Bhuta Maheshwaram.
Thank you. If someone else can read
Thank you, ma'am.
the last part.
I can read if you allow.
Yes, please.
As we have already discussed in the previous verses, it is concluded that the Lord is never a product of the material creation. His transcendental position is always unchanged. He is the eternal form of knowledge and bliss, and he executes his almighty will by his different energies. As such, he is never the subject of reactions for any of his acts. He is transcendental to all such conceptions of actions and reactions. Even if he is visible in the material world, the exhibition is only of his internal energy, for he is above the good and bad conceptions of this material world. In the material world, the fish or the hawk may be considered lower than the man, but when the Lord appears as a fish or hawk, he is neither of them in the material conception. It is his causeless mercy that he appears in every society or species of life, but he is never to be considered one of them. Conceptions of the material world, such as good and bad, lower and upper, important and insignificant, are estimations of the material energy, and the Supreme Lord is transcendental to all such conceptions. The words param bhavam, or transcendental nature, can never be compared to the material conception. We should not forget that the potencies of the Almighty Lord are always the same and do not decrease because the Lord assumes the form of a lower animal. There is no difference between Lord Sri Rama, Lord Sri Krishna, and his incarnations as a fish and hawk. He is all-pervading and simultaneously localized at any and every place. But the foolish person with a poor fund of knowledge, for want of that param bhavam of the Lord, cannot understand how the Supreme Lord can take the form of a man or a fish. One compares everything to one's own standard of knowledge, as the frog in the well considers the sea to be like the well. The frog in the well cannot even think of the sea, and when such a frog is informed of the greatness of the sea, it takes the conception of the sea as being a little greater than the well. As such, one who is foolish about the transcendental science of the Lord will find it difficult to understand how Lord Vishnu can equally manifest himself in every society of living entities.
Thank you. I read the verse again. He is the personality of Godhead. As the maintainer of all in the universe, appear in different incarnations after establishing creation, and thus he reclaims all kinds of conditioned souls among the humans, non-humans, and demigods. So, this verse we are speaking about the Asraya, Summum Bonum, but does the Absolute Truth do in relationship to all living entities? And that's explained here. He incarnates himself in different societies of living entities to reclaim them from the clutches of illusion. But Srila Prabhupada quotes 9:11, Avajananti mamudamananam tanum ashvita prambhavam ajanato mama bhutam ashvaram. That it says, yes, less intelligent persons deride him even if he is in human society as a human being. But the Lord is transcendental in all cases, in all conceptions of actions and reactions, that he comes in this world with his eternal energy only, based on his eternal energy, and which is transcendental to good and bad conceptions of this world. And that, because 9:11 say, Parambhavam ajanato, they don't know the Parambhavan, the transcendental nature of the Supreme Lord. They compare it to the material conception. So, we are here in the second canto, and we are learning about the nature of the Supreme Lord. And we must thoroughly be convinced of his transcendental nature by the end of the 9th canto. Otherwise, we will misunderstand the 10th canto, thinking Krishna is subject to the morality of our society, that no, is above good and bad conceptions. That's the potency of the Almighty Lord are always the same and do not decrease, because the Lord assumes the form of a lower animal. So that's also mentioned in the Ishopanishad, the invocation verse on Purnam, that yes, the Lord is always full in himself, and whatever comes from him is also full, and it does not diminish him. So that's a spiritual law. So if Krishna, if something comes from him, still he remains the whole. At the same time, it's not diminished. So his potencies are always the same and do not decrease, because he assumes the form of a lower animal. He appears as Varahadev. We will hear from that in the 3rd canto. He will appear as Nrsingadev in the 7th canto. At the end of the 8th canto, he will appear as Matsya. External, they look all animals, but he appears in that form. But he remains the transcendental Lord. that the disease that we have is we cannot think what's beyond our experience. That we see everything to the standard of our knowledge in this world. Then, of course, Srila Prabhupada gives the example of Dr. Frog in his well, and he's asking someone who has seen the ocean, how big is the ocean? Is it twice as big as my well? But finally, yes, he has no idea what ocean is like. And ordinary people do not have an idea what God means and what his transcendental position means. But the Bhagavatam is instructing us here. So he's the creator and everything else is dependent on him. We have learned, and the absolute truth appears in different incarnations to reclaim those among humans. It is said here, non-humans and demigods, to bring them back to the spiritual world. At least those who want. So that is his function. That is his purpose. The hidden purpose behind the material world is to bring us back to the spiritual world. So yes, this was a section of today. It's a small section, and the next one is also a small section. But yeah, we have received the order to discuss these verses. So please, if there are any questions, comments, we can have a discussion. Mother Ekanta, please.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. I have a question about the different incarnations of the Lord. I heard somewhere that actually the Lord descends in each and every species of life that exists in the universe, even if they are not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam or Puranas. And here it is even mentioned the tree, that he incarnates in trees. Is it true, and is there somewhere a list of other incarnations that we don't research here?
Well, we have a list of Vibhutis in the 10th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, and there Krishna says, among the trees I am the banyan tree. But I cannot say I understand this fully, how he appears and how he reclaims them back. That's a mystery for me. But yes, if Vishnu appears as in incarnations in these animal forms, it's clear he's the Supreme Lord. Lord Nrsimhadev replies to all the questions of Prahlad Maharaj, and even makes proposals to Prahlad Maharaj. So it's very clear he's the Supreme Lord there, at least. And Matsya Avatar, yeah, it's King Satyavrata who went to a well. He was washing his hands, and suddenly a fish appeared in his hand, and the fish started to speak to him. It's interesting that I've never seen a fish speaking. but anyway, and the fish was growing. And he instructed Satyavrata to build a boat and so on. It's like it looks like the Ark of Noah in the Bible, but that's Ark of Noah, the Bible, that's more recent. So that's the original story, probably much about that. But yes, that means the Lord is concerned with bringing us back. But how He appears among the immovable living entities, yes, the vibhutis are there, that you have among the mountains and the Himalayas and so on. Himalayas is also a living entity. There is a soul inside. Even in the earth there is a soul. Because also the earth is get benefit from Krishna's presence. That's interesting. So I cannot answer your question, but I try to share with what I know. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Something else, please.
Hare Krishna Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
This is my beloved Mr. Maharaj.
Hare Krishna.
I have some poor network connection, so I am unable to switch on the video. Very poor, I don't know it may sustain or not. Maharaj, so I just wanted to ask some basic question. Like we might have heard that we transmigrate bodies because of our material desires, and you were also saying in the class that you might be knowing that because of our material desires we got this body. So actually, I have a different understanding that we also get bodies because of the reactions also. For example, not only because of the material desires, because of the reactions of the material desires also. So even though one doesn't want to take birth also, some balance sheet is there. So what is your comment regarding this, Maharaj?
No, the body in itself is a reaction of our past deeds. But the past deeds we have performed because of our material desires. So the material desires is the real problem, is the remote problem. That's why we performed the material actions. That's with our desire we contact the material energy. So yes, if we have a big stock of reactions for many births to come, that those who are astrology can see that the chart is continuing in the next life. And they can show you the chart of your next life to a certain extent. That it's going over many lives, these reactions. But if we don't stop acting upon these material desires, then it continues. We continue to build up reactions and reactions. So for us it's important that we chant the holy name, go to the Anartha Nirviti process, and that does two things. It purifies our desire, spiritualizes it, and it destroys all this future karma. And that's the potency. That is subtle, you cannot see it. But that's the reality beyond the gross material nature. So yes, we take birth because of the reactions, but the reactions are there because of our material desires. Our material desires was the cause of the actions we performed in previous life that caused these reactions in future bodies. So, does that answer your question?
Yes, Maharaj. Suppose a person suicides this because he doesn't know what is the solution for it for the soul, but he doesn't aware of his own material desires also.
Mm-hmm.
So at least he might have thought that okay, let me finish this so that all the reactions get nullified like that. But he may not be aware of his own material desires. So how to understand that type of uh, one?
Yeah, yeah. One can say yes, okay, that why should I be punished for something I don't remember? Hmm? You, right, you drive on the road, you go to England, and you drive on the right side, which is the wrong side. And then there's an accident, you are punished. And you say, oh, I forgot. I had to drive on the left side here. That, yes, we forget, but that does not take away the punishment. The punishment has to come. So that is an important point to understand. That is not the ignorance of what we have done before. That it's not because we don't know that it didn't happen. If we read the scriptures, we can understand our own past. That if you see your life since your birth, what you went through, and the happiness and distress you get from since your birth till now, you can understand the rest of my life will be not very different. The same kind of happiness and distress will come. So that's intelligence. That intelligence that we get from the scriptures. And with that intelligence, you know what to do and how to get out of it. So ignorance is not an excuse. Does that help?
Okay, Maharaj. Thank you.
Thank you. Something else? Okay, then we will continue tomorrow. Tomorrow I will be in Montreal. I fly back this afternoon. And this will be the last session. Will be also a shorter session because it are only a few verses, but with some very interesting points, I must say. I went through it a few times, and we will see tomorrow. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Jai Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Mm.